The reviews are in, and we're going to tell you what they are. He's Todd Vandenberg. I'm Rob Steele, and we've got a slightly different episode than we are used to because we're throwing reviews in with the news because it works for some of these stories.
It do.
I am, however, going to start with the new and improved Chris Hardwick. Yeah, no one was expecting that, were they?
No.
No, you remember how... I guess this was about 2 years ago. Chris Hardwick was everywhere.
Indeed, he was.
It was either Chris Hardwick or Chris Pine. One of the two of them was in everything. There is a new Chris Hardwick. Ooh. And I'm pretty sure her name is Margot Robbie.
I can see that.
She has apparently been attached to the new, and why the hell are we rebooting this already, Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Oh, jeez.
We just finished.
Yeah.
Let it lie there and fester let us get over it for a little bit first. Before...
Sounds a lot like what Sony did with Spider-Man. Oh, let's reboot it. It's been 6 months. Oh, let's reboot it again. At least the third time it stuck, but wow.
It's because the third time they put it with something else that made sense.
Yes, that's true. Margot Robbie, is she going to be the lead pirate? Do we know?
She is attached. That is the best I've got. Story details are under wraps.
Interesting.
Which means everyone's going to die from cellophane poisoning. Actually, you know what? I'm moving this story up a bit because I had it later in the thing. But you know what?
Move it up.
Because it's another reboot story that doesn't quite make sense to me. Twister.
That doesn't make any sense to me either. And by the way, Ted, we did not have much pre-pro here, so this is why we're moving things on the fly. Yep. Anyway, Twister.
Yeah. Why? There's nothing wrong with the one that's still there. I don't care if it came out in 96.
Well, personally, I could care less about seeing the original Twister because I thought it was insanely stupid. But I know there are a lot of fans. A friend of mine on Facebook said, "Oh my gosh, I hope they do it justice because this is my favorite movie." And I'm thinking,
you need to get up.
I thought you were a normal person. But Twister obviously has lots of fans. But yeah, this is just one of these things. It's like there's so many movies that they remake. Is like, what's the point? Which that's going to come up again a little later in the show.
Oh yeah,
the subject of remakes. Yeah, I don't know why they're remaking Twister, other than they think they'll make money because that's the only reason to remake movies usually.
Well,
Odd choice.
You can't have Bill Paxton in it. He's a bit dead.
Yeah, which is sad.
And he'll be in the news later too, because it's all tied together, string theory and everything. Now, we did have some sad news this week that brought about some potentially cool news. And I would not have tied these together if it weren't for the internet going, hey, here's a quote that'll tie these together. And I went, oh, really?
String theory.
Joel Schumacher.
Yes.
Died.
He did.
Which is sad.
It is.
And if you don't know who he is off the top of your head, he's the guy who created the bastardizations known as Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, the movies. Now, once Schumacher was brought in and gave the movie an overhaul, Michael Keaton, who is widely regarded as one of, if not the best Batmans.
He's the Batmans.
One of the best ever said, and this is allegedly a quote, he would never play Batman again while Schumacher was alive.
Oh, Jesus.
The day after Schumacher died, there's a quote that says he's been signed to play Batman in the Flash movie Flashpoint.
Which is terrific casting and absolutely makes sense if you know the story, the Flashpoint story. And if you don't, make it your business to know the story because it's one of the best DC arcs ever. And for my money, it's the best. Yeah, I think it might be better than The Dark Knight. I mean, it's just a tremendous movie. It's animated, but that doesn't matter because it's an awesome movie. And it's a great story.
Well, if you want to go get the books, brace yourself. You'll need a big wallet because it covered every book in the DC universe for like 6 months.
Yeah, it's a huge story.
It's yeah, wow.
And the fact that they turned it into an animated flick, which is I think it's less than 100 minutes. They did a fantastic job with that story. But
I mean, not all of it's there. Duh.
No, it can't be. But to the point, Michael Keaton would be awesome for this role at this point in time. So it's not like, oh, too bad it's not Michael Keaton back when he did, because exactly.
It has to be not Bruce Wayne,
right?
But Thomas Wayne.
Thomas Wayne.
Who is the Batman in this particular story. And if you don't, like Todd said, if you don't know the story, look it up. It really is worth it.
It totally is worth it.
If you like any of the DC characters, because they're all in it.
This isn't really a spoiler, but just a hint. Thomas Wayne is not his son's Batman, I guess you would put it. He's a very different Batman. And Michael Keaton can totally pull off this character.
Oh, absolutely.
Totally pull off this character. There's a dark edge to Thomas Wayne in that story. And darker. Keaton can totally pull this off.
And we're not going to tell you who the Joker is.
No, but God, I hope that's true. That would be so good. That would be so good.
I would love this.
I don't care who else is in the movie. I don't care if they bring back Joel Schumacher to direct it. I would watch this movie just because Michael Keaton is going to play Batman. That alone would be worth it. That kind of
leads into the release date things, because
it does.
Joel Schumacher would have to be in Ghostbusters Afterlife.
He would have to be.
Let's see. The only news we have on that is they finally nailed down a release date for it, because I'll be honest, I looked at the releases for the films that are coming out for the rest of the year.
Right.
At the beginning of the year, and there were really only 2 that I was really, really interested in seeing. Mm-hmm. One was Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is not coming out this year now. It's coming out March 5th next year. And the other one was the Marvel Cinematic Universe version of The Eternals, which is one of the Jack Kirby stories. And if you know those, wow, it's just really good. I went back and reread them recently, and it's awesome. I want to see this on a big screen. Coming out February 12th of next year, provided COVID doesn't continue at its current rate.
Exactly. And a quick note, when you're talking about the visuals of the Eternals, think of the craziest parts of Doctor Strange, how trippy that was. That's Jack Kirby's influence. So the Eternals is going to look amazing.
It's going to be absolutely wild.
Yep.
Other news from the MCU, and I really like this and really hope it's going to happen, and I'm really not holding my breath. But there's a guy named Mikey Sutton. And you're wondering, who the hell is Mikey Sutton? He's apparently a guy who has somehow gotten an inside track on a lot of MCU stuff. He's posted a lot of rumors that have all turned out to be real. Who knew? Now, his newest rumor that has come out is that there is going to be a Wolverine versus Hulk movie, which, if you know Wolverine's history, that's where he debuted. He wasn't originally with the X-Men.
Indeed, he was not.
He was with Department H in Canada and was sent after the Hulk, who had wandered up into the Great White North, And, that's where Wolverine came from, which is kind of cool. Now, here's another thing that comes with it. There's going to be a spin-off of an Alpha Flight TV series on Disney+.
Wow.
If you don't know Alpha Flight, it's the Avengers in Canada, I actually always liked Alpha Flight. But I mean, this rumor goes on to say that the tentative lineup for this version of Alpha Flight is Vindicator, Northstar, Aurora, Puck, Sasquatch, Shaman, and Snowbird, which is pretty much the original group.
That would be so cool. And that's really smart to put them on Disney+. Really smart move.
Great place to do it, because
I
don't know that it would go over anywhere else.
Well, and as soon as I said that, I thought, like Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. So, yeah, maybe they could have made this a huge blockbuster movie, but the safer move is definitely going to be Disney Plus, and there's the venue for it. So,
Yep.
that is really cool news. Hopefully, this again is accurate, because that would be awesome. Especially the Alpha fight, absolutely. But Wolverine versus Hulk is like, yes,
That's
please.
always been a good fight.
That's an excellent, and that is a good fight no matter how often it happens, which has been, I don't know how often they fought in the comics. But that initial face-off is terrific. That's just a great story.
And actually, we got Wolverine in costume.
Yes.
So maybe we would get that in the movies. Who knows?
That would be pretty tasty.
That's something I would be looking forward to seeing.
Indeed.
As opposed to, and actually, I'm not really sure if I'm looking forward to this anymore or not. There's a trailer that came out for the Isaac Asimov-based series Foundation. It's going to be on Apple TV. And did you see the trailer for this?
I have not seen the trailer. Hopefully this is like a multiple episode show.
Oh, it has to be. The book's enormous.
Yeah.
Actually, have you read the books? Because
I have read the books, and yeah, that would, I don't know how many seasons will they have to do? I mean, yeah.
Exactly. If you're doing less than a season a book,
Right.
or less than a book a season, I'm not sure which way that goes. You're not doing it right.
Right.
Now, if you're not familiar with the Foundation series, think of it this way: this was written back in the 30s and 40s.
Yep.
And if you read it, you're going to look at it and go, "Oh, look, there's Star Wars, there's Star Trek, there's Battlestar Galactica, there's this sci-fi series, that sci-fi hi-fi series."
Again, no pre-pro.
Not at all.
Yes, you are absolutely
I can
correct.
my tongue if I want to. So
There's more than one reason it's called Foundation.
Yeah.
Not intentionally, but that's how it turned out to be.
So I saw the trailer, and it had Harry Seldon in it. There's our main character. That's good. It had psychohistory mentioned. Okay, that's good. There was a boat scene.
That's good. Good.
I don't remember there being a boat in the entire series, and I've read all 6 books.
I'm sure there is.
There probably is somewhere. There was a space elevator. I have to admit, I don't remember that either.
That's an Arthur C. Clarke thing, but okay.
No
problem following that.
There was a scene with someone looking for something with a flashlight on a big friggin' gun. Okay, really? What book was that? Because I know you can't see me because this is a podcast, but watch this. Todd can see my arm on the camera. I am touching 4 of the books right now. I don't remember that part.
Yeah,
and
I
read them
remember
at least once a year. So, because they're that damn good. It looks really good. And okay, if you want to take some creative license, go right ahead. I want this to be good.
Yeah. Remember when people were like amped about The Dark Tower coming out and then thought, wait, why are they doing this in one movie? And then it turned out that it was not good at all. Exactly. There's really no comparison to how important this series is for science fiction to The Dark Tower. And obviously that series has legions of fans. I'm not one of them because I never got into that particular series of books because I didn't want to read, 600,000 words just for 2 of the novels. But there's no comparison. I mean, Foundation literally is the foundation of so much science fiction, just like you said. So this has to be good. Has to be good.
Has to be.
So hopefully it is. And like you said, I'm cool if they borrow some things from other properties, but it's like, do a good job, please.
Yeah, please. Please. Now I want to go on to something that we have we've mentioned on the movie Aliens.
We have
on the show many times.
Indeed.
And I think we both think it's a really good movie.
We do.
Now, UK and Comcast back pay TV provider Sky and Sky Plus and whatever have added a new disclaimer to 16 films saying that they include outdated attitudes, language, and cultural depictions which may cause offense today. Now, this list, and I'm gonna read this backwards just because you know where we're going to end up.
Yes.
Tropic Thunder, I get that.
I totally get that. I get that.
The Lone Ranger.
Yes.
The Littlest Rebel. Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah.
Last Samurai. Jungle Book. The Jazz Singer.
Which Jungle Book did they mention? Did they mention?
Does not say.
I just wondered. Anyway, okay. The Jazz Singer. Yes. Blackface. Hello.
The Goonies.
Mm-hmm.
Gone with the Wind.
Yeah,
Go figure.
No kidding.
Flash Gordon.
Like the original serial? Yes.
Again, it does not say. I'm going back to the 1980s one and going, really?
Yeah, I'm thinking of like the original serial.
Dumbo. I get that.
Totally get that.
Breakfast at Tiffany's. I get that.
Oh yes. Hell yes.
Calls of Fury.
Yeah.
Skipping a little bit, Aladdin. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
And Aliens. Now, that one struck me because I was like, Aliens. I went back and watched the movie again this week.
Yeah.
And wrote down the only lines in the movie, because I don't think there were any visuals that made me go, ooh, that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
There were 3 lines. 2 of them done by Bill Paxton, because I told you he would pop up again.
Of course he would.
One was, "Hey Vasquez, you ever been mistaken for a man?"
Okay, I can see the point of the warning,
but she immediately turns around and go, "No, have you?" So
exactly, there's a payoff in the movie which belittles the person who's stupid enough to say it. So
exactly
right.
There was the comment he made about, let's see, how was it phrased? Someone said alien. She thought they said illegal alien, and she signed up. Right. She then flipped him off. So
yeah, again, which is the same character. I mean, I have no problem with them putting like a warning on whatever kind of film, but I mean, comparing those lines in Aliens to Mickey Rooney.
Here's the third one though. And this comes from Sergeant Apone, who I've forgotten who plays him. I apologize. There's some juicy colonist daughters we have to rescue from their virginity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can see some warning line being put on that, but at the same time, Donald Trump still exists.
Yeah. He didn't say, he also didn't say there's some juicy 12-year-old colonist daughters we have to rescue. He just said juicy. I'm sorry, there's a lot of language in that film, and there's a whole lot of bloodshed. I don't really see how that would be offensive to anybody who is watching Aliens. The other 2 lines is like, okay, and like I said, it's not like they aren't showing the film or they cut the scenes or something like that. I'm fine with them putting a warning, but to compare that to like Mickey Rooney's performance in Breakfast at Tiffany's, which got a lot of heat when the frickin' movie came out in the 60s.
Yeah.
Because it's so over the top, horrifyingly stereotyped. I mean, Jesus. I mean, I was a kid when I first saw that movie, and I didn't understand the overall concept of what she was really doing.
That's your microphone, by the way.
Ooh, thank you for that. But I knew that was awful.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ. I mean, come on. I was like 8 years old, and I knew, well, that's not right.
Well, I think the only other thing that might have come in would be the character of Vasquez herself, who's played by Jeanette Elise Goldstein.
Exactly. Not Latina actor or actress, however you want to put it.
Technically, no, but I don't know that she was actually in blackface or anything, or whatever it would be for Latino characters. But she's actually, she was described, and I love this, as a chameleon, because she's been in so many different movies with so many different looks. And I loved this. This was a bit of trivia. She was on ER twice as a guest star. And now that was a show where they did not like to repeat guest stars playing different roles.
Yeah.
But they said that she was on there twice and didn't realize she had been on before until after the second time had aired.
As I recall, her publicity shot, she has really pale skin and freckles.
Yeah,
and red
that was
hair.
what she looked. That was what she looked like in Titanic.
Yeah. So she is. She doesn't look like Vasquez, which I don't count that as being. To me, blackface, you're making a mockery of a specific race when you're in blackface. I
Right.
mean, if it's going to be harmful, that's the point of it. Uh, Vasquez is quite
Badass.
possibly the most badass character in the entire damn franchise, with the possible exception of Ripley. But I don't know if she's even not more badass than Ripley. It's just
She's more. I think she might be more badass, but not quite as intelligent.
not quite as lucky either.
That
But yeah, I mean, that is an extremely powerful, forceful, positive character, Vasquez. One of the actual few in the whole franchise when you get down to it, because there aren't many.
yeah.
So,
And actually, this is where I was bringing the review thing into the news. If you have
yes.
not seen Alien, because there's not a 2 on it, you should watch this movie. It's actually really good.
Oh, it's an awesome movie.
Actually, a couple other things with Jeanette Goldstein.
Really?
IMDb says her family is Jewish.
Right?
I kind of gathered that from the name, but okay. And tell me if this would not have been cool. She tried out and was really heavily considered for the role of Tasha Yar on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
That would have made that role much different.
I would have loved that.
No kidding. I would have really liked that.
Not necessarily any offense to Denise Crosby, who played her in the series, but
Oh, I'll give offense. I cannot stand her in that role. I hate the way that character
I
is
like
played.
her better than Dr. Pulaski.
Yeah, I don't know how much of it is her performance, how much is the script, how much is the direction, but I hate the way that character was portrayed, because to me it was just such a cardboard cutout. It was terrible. And Ms. Goldstein might have played it the same way, depending on the script and the direction and all the rest of it, but I doubt it. I think she would have been a very different character. I think she would have brought a lot of nuance to it. I mean, because there was depth to her character as Vasquez, and it's a science fiction action movie. Oh, let's go blow up stuff. But I mean, she brought a lot of interesting depth to Vasquez in a movie that, didn't really have a whole lot of depth to a lot of the characters, unless they were in the hands of talented actors like Michael Bain, people like that. So anyway, just so we don't make this the Jeanette Goldstein show, which would be okay. That'd be all right.
Oh, yeah.
We mentioned a couple older films, and we talked about some pictures coming out. I wanted to mention a couple that I am really looking forward to whenever they appear. Right now, they are targeted for release dates in September, which probably isn't going to happen.
Good luck.
Yeah, the first one's one I had not heard a thing about. This is from Peter Jackson, your friendly Peter Jackson, who brought you the Lord of the Rings and unfortunately all the Hobbit stuff. But also did a fantastic documentary in World War I called They Shall Not Grow Old, which is an amazing piece of work. Turns out he has a documentary coming out on the Beatles, which, again, hadn't heard a thing about this. This is a lot of never-before-seen footage. And this centers on the time when they recorded their album Let It Be, their last album, and covers the rooftop performance, which, one of the legendary performances of all time. So it's called The Beatles Get Back. That is scheduled to be released September 4th. So sometime within the next 5 years, expect to see The Beatles Get Back from Peter Jackson. The work he did with They Shall Not Grow Old, which, again, is a documentary using footage from World War I. And he cleaned it up, and it looks like they filmed it. Well, it looks like they filmed it last year when it came out. So Jackson is a great storyteller when he sets his mind to it. So I picture this is going to be a terrific movie. The other movie, which I had heard of, but I didn't realize all the details on it, this is called Candyman. You guys may remember the movie that came out in the 90s, Candyman. Mm-hmm. Say his name 3 times in the mirror, he comes out and kills you. Yay! Super awesome horror movie starring Tony Todd in the title role, and he was a slave who was murdered, and he comes back to take his revenge. So despite the fact that he's the movie monster, he's a very sympathetic character, which is a weird twist. Now, 2 things that I didn't realize about this. This is being directed by Nia DaCosta. young director. Hadn't really heard much about her until recently. She directed a movie called Little Woods, which is a pretty deep crime drama, which is excellent, about two sisters who have to make one last big drug deal to make ends meet. It's one of these movies where you're rooting for the criminals because they're actually very sympathetic characters, and this is what they have to do. Again, Little Woods, awesome movie. So from Nia DaCosta, she's directing it, which is terrific. Jordan Peele is producing it. You know, the guy who does the new Twilight Zone, did Us, a few cool little movies like Get Out. So the guy knows horror, absolutely. So he's producing it. Tony Todd is in this again, playing the Candyman. The thing I didn't know, that this is a sequel. This is not a reboot. This is not a remake. This is a sequel, which is just such a cool concept. I mean, this is almost 30 years later. And the fact that this guy is going to make a sequel of, really, it's not a huge horror film. It's not one of the classics that people think of, but it's one of those under-the-radar classics to me. I mean, Candyman is an excellent horror film. And the fact that Peele decided, is like, no, we're not going to reboot this. We're just going to make a straight-up sequel. And oh, by the way, Tony Todd, who's awesome, is in it. That's just fantastic news. So again, that is also scheduled to be released, supposedly, in September. So we'll see if that happens. But for me, two movies to really look forward to.
Actually, I'm going to throw a third in. The problem with it is we don't have a name.
That would be a problem.
I'm going to keep an eye out for this, and you're probably going to hear more about this as we get closer because they haven't finished filming it yet. The story for this particular movie follows a scientist who discovers the dangers associated with a program he created to perfect human DNA, and he's helping an artificially intelligent woman he designed escape. Uh-huh. Now, the thing about this that really is going to make the news, actually, is that the artificially intelligent woman he designed to escape is an artificial intelligent robot. That you've seen these on like the Today Show and stuff.
Yes.
Where they've created, it looks almost human, mm-hmm. and it will talk to you and respond and everything. That's what's playing this character. And
I don't know if you saw it, but maybe 2 years ago, the comedian Whitney Cummings did a little segment. She was in, I don't remember now if it was Howard Stern or Joe Rogan, but she was doing an interview, and she had a robot done for a stand-up special. Just to, really? She got one. She got one of these robots from Japan. I think she said it cost, it was either $100,000 or $200,000 because they customized it because it looks like her.
Wow.
And it was having a conversation, and it wasn't very good at it, which was part of it. Yeah, but it learns, and that was part of the fun of it. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I read, not that this is a $70 million film, but that this was a $70 million robot. Is that correct?
I have seen where someone has committed $70 million to it.
That's what
I do not know if that is specifically for the robot itself.
Right.
Or if that's for the entirety of the movie, or both.
Yeah. I have not seen video of the robot. I've just seen a still photo, but there's a huge difference between a still photo and video, but holy crap, that looks like a person.
It does.
And AI, I actually messed around with an AI program for about a couple months ago. And it's just a chatbot basically. But It was amazing how quickly it learned. And every once in a while you would get an off-the-wall response, which was like, yeah, that doesn't work. Try again.
You said what?
Yeah. But honestly, 90% of the conversation, you'd swear you were talking to a person. It was really, really amazing. So I can imagine that they can really create something pretty fantastic if they put some bucks into it. So I picture it's going to be called Eve or something terrible. But, and I don't know who the writer is. I don't know anything about it except, we're going to do a movie starring an actual AI-powered robot. But that sounds fascinating.
I don't know if it's going to be good or horrible, or if the story is really going to live up to it.
But
I'm going to watch it just because I'm curious.
Exactly. We are going to be watching that. whenever that comes out. That's
So,
just a fascinating idea.
you know what? Let's go from something I'm very interested in seeing to something I was very interested in seeing until I saw it.
Oh no! I'm so sorry,
Now,
Rob.
yeah, we watch things so you don't have to. The I've mentioned before that I actually like older murder mystery movies and TV shows and stuff, and I am actually a big fan of Raymond Burr and the Perry Mason series from the late 50s and early 60s.
As am I.
I mean, it was some great stuff. Now, this past week, the 2020 Perry Mason prequel series was kicked off on HBO. And I said, you know what? It's Perry Mason. Let's take a look. What the hell did I do that for? All right. Here we go. Before we even meet Perry, it starts with a hostage payoff. Someone's kid has been kidnapped, and they've got to make a money drop, and the kid will be left in this train. The train doesn't make any sense to me. It honestly, it's an inclined train in Los Angeles. I've never been to LA. It might be there. I don't know. Anyway, the money is dropped. They find the infant son, and whoops, he's dead, and his eyes are sewn open. And my first thought was, yeah, you know what? I'm done. I don't need to. I don't want to watch kids be mutilated.
You're funny that way.
I don't want to finish this. I have no interest in watching any more of the series. We haven't even been introduced to Perry Mason, and already I'm like, no, because Perry Mason was never this dark. He was a lawyer, and in this, he's not. He's a PI.
Right.
So I'm thinking maybe they got this confused, and it's really the Paul Drake show.
Which would be boring because God, Paul was boring. Anyway.
Well, picky. But yeah, so I went with that mentality. I said, okay, I'll try it. Let's go. There was a lot of unnecessary language. I don't mind language being used, but if it's just, I'm going to use it every other word, why?
Well,
all it does is annoy people.
Let's be honest. It's on HBO, so it's necessary because I think that's in their contract for all films to have language.
Oh, brace yourself. His first case is following a fat guy who's an actor, apparently, and he has a morals clause in his Hollywood contract. It leads to a scene with full frontal nudity of him. Yeah, I needed that. Thanks.
Yeah.
He's having performing fellatio on another actress who also has a moral clause, but there's lots of food involved, and you know what?
Yeah.
No.
Very loosely based on the Fatty Arbuckle case, although not a death involved in their version. So anyway,
so now I'm not only disgusted with the series, I'm also kind of bored. But anyway, Perry takes pictures of him, whatever, returns to his house near a Mexican airfield. Okay, whatever. Finds a lot of final notice letters and a package to someone returned for insufficient postage. And then we find out, oh, wait. It's not just his home. It's a farm. Perry Mason has cows. Why? Why? And I was almost going to turn it off, but then John Lithgow showed up.
Ooh.
All right. At least he showed up as opposed to the people in Cats who just didn't.
Yeah.
So John Lithgow is a lawyer. He wants to hire Mason. And Perry is changing in the background. Hang on a minute. He's got tattoos in the 1920s. Really? Perry Mason had... Whatever. Turns out Perry is divorced with a kid. That's who the package was to, but he didn't have money to send it. Whatever. He has to go to a courtroom to testify in a court case. And I'm only doing half this episode, so just bear with me on this. It's not going to make much more sense. One of the things I noticed is they left the courtroom. They went 5 seconds down a hall, turned right. 5 seconds down a hall, turned right. 5 seconds down a hall, turned right. 5 seconds down a hall and turned right. You'll notice we're back where we started, but it's a different place. Now there's elevators there. I'm like, you could have just walked out and gone bing, but you didn't. You had to do a lap first because he's on some kind of fitness program, I guess, whatever. So anyway, we meet back up with John Lithgow, who takes Perry to meet the family who lost the kid from the opening scene. We're 20 minutes in. Where have they been? Why have we been following this other crap? Anyway, Perry gets hired to find out who did this because they don't trust the cops. Gasp. Perry goes back to his house and has what I can describe as one of the most hilarious sex scenes I have ever seen. Apparently, he's doing a Latina pilot from the Mexican airport next door. Whatever. I'm just going to go with the bed doesn't stay where it's supposed to. I can't tell if it was on purpose or not.
Ah.
It made me laugh. Only thing in the show that did. Then it turned very Quentin Tarantino for some reason. There was a lot of, look, here's the bad guys, and shooting holes in each other, and let's follow the bullet through their body. Not in CSI television, okay kind of way, but no, this is Tarantino. So I'm actually just going to stop it there because I pretty much did too. If you're into graphic noir, I guess this is your series. It's not for me. I tried.
I'll just say, go ahead.
The show ended on a cliffhanger, but we already know who did it. Not why, but who. And I can't bring myself to care why.
One of those.
So maybe it's the sepia tone they put on everything to make it look like it's in the 20s.
I will say that, yeah, I'm a longtime fan of the Perry Mason show with Raymond Burr. I'm old enough to have watched it when it was originally aired. So, yeah, I'm ancient. Huge fan of that story. I have seen, I think, 3 of the movies that actually were released in the late 30s because Earl Stanley Gardner wrote these mysteries a long time ago. Not great movies, but entertaining. Even in those, Perry Mason was always a lawyer. So I thought this is an odd move. I really liked the fact that they were putting it back in the 30s. That's cool. But the fact that they made him a PI really made no sense. No. Because in the show, in the TV show, the beloved TV show, one of the greatest TV shows ever, he basically was a private investigator because he did more investigating than any lawyer ever does. Paul Drake would just be like, hey, go pick this up for me because I'll know what to do with it. Because Perry solved every case because that's just how the show worked. So in reality, yeah, he was a private investigator, but he was a lawyer and the courtroom scenes were always the climax of the show. So I didn't get the concept of updating it by changing him to a PI. I didn't understand that at all. Nope. I like the fact that they threw in the kind of reference to the Fatty Arbuckle case, although it's a lot different, but still it's basically that same concept. That's cool. I expect the language and I expect the graphic violence because, again, it's on HBO and that's kind of what they do with, that's what they do with virtually everything, which one of the reasons why, the only reason I have HBO now is because it's included with my cable package at no extra charge. If I had to pay, literally, if I had to pay $3 extra for it, I would not pay for it because despite the fact that they have a lot of good series, too many of these series are just, they're overwrought with this kind of copycat crap. You know, it's like, oh, this is what people like. It's like, yeah, to some extent, if it services the plot, okay. But if it's just there, like you said, Rob, it's like, oh, let's just throw in a lot of language just because we can do it. No, that's ridiculous.
I'm a bit disappointed with the executive producers, Susan and Robert Downey Jr.
That's rather odd. I'll watch it just to see. You know, because we have differences of opinion at times, which is true. Weird. But I have a bad suspicion that you are 100% right on this because
I don't want to be.
I saw the trailer and oh, that's interesting. But just the whole concept of changing him to a PI.
A broke PI.
Really is makes no sense. Makes no sense. I mean, the fact that despite the fact that Raymond Burr was rather heavy set, which being a chubby kid was one of the reasons I liked him. He was a very dynamic figure. Women were always interested in him. Not that that's like the big thing. A
mutually exclusive thing.
But he was not some deadbeat broke dude. You know, he was an impressive man of the world. I mean, people respected him. The only person on the planet who didn't like him was Hamilton Berger. And Lieutenant Trag, okay, 2 people didn't like him.
I was going to say Trag more than Burger, though.
Yeah, they really didn't like Perry. But that was part of the fun dynamic of it, is this lawyer who was smarter than everybody else and was a PI in reality. And just to make him a PI is just, they've changed the character so much. It's like, why bother calling it Perry Mason?
I don't see the point.
Yeah, I don't, other than the fact it's got name recognition, but how much name recognition is there?
I think they said was Della Street, but I
couldn't
tell.
I read Della is in it, which, okay, fine. But
there was no resemblance.
When you're cashing in on an iconic TV show, which is, 60 years old, 55 years old.
Yep.
And then you change the concept. There's no point to that. There's 0 point to that. If you want to make a show about a PI in the 30s, buy the rights to Chinatown and do that and screw it over. I mean, at least that was a PI.
Bring Peter Gunn back. It's got a good theme song.
He was in the fort. Peter Gunn's got an awesome theme song. So yeah, that's just an very odd choice. Like I said, I'll check it out just to see, but I have a bad feeling that I'm going to say, yeah, Rob, just like I did with Cats. Thanks for warning me. I should have listened.
Perry Mason had a farm and his cows are anemic.
That's such a weird choice.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah. Well, anyway. I actually watched a couple films this week, which I will recommend. So not the case of we watch movies so you don't have to. However, a caveat is in order here. So I watched a pandemic double feature just because I kind of felt like it. So to me, these are
it has nothing to do with the outside world.
No, nothing at all.
Let me put my mask on.
Yeah. To me, these are 2 of the best, if not the best, movies ever made about a outbreak of a disease. And one of them is not Outbreak, because I think Outbreak is overwrought and not very good. I am talking about maybe one of the granddaddies of this kind of film, The Andromeda Strain, which came out a long time ago, like 1971.
About the same time I did.
There you go. And the second one is Contagion. So let me talk about The Andromeda Strain first, since it's the older film. Now, The Andromeda Strain is not about a pandemic at all, but it's about a potential pandemic. The concept is the U.S. had a satellite which went out into deep space, and it was called Project Scoop. They were trying to find something in outer space, whatever they could find. Basically, they were trying to find evidence of life. So the satellite comes back. It crashes in a place it wasn't supposed to land. Someone opens it up, and guess what? This little town in Arizona, everybody is dead. Oops. Everybody is dead. So, of course, the United States, they decide they'll investigate. And basically, this is under the auspices of the Army. It's not the CDC that's involved in this case. But the Army gets involved. They send out their crack investigative team. And a couple of the scientists, actually it's one scientist and one doctor, they go visit this town, and they find evidence that people died really quickly from this. They also find evidence that the way people died was their blood coagulated so quickly it turned into powder. Not a good way to die. They managed to find 2 survivors. One is a baby who is crying a lot. One is an old man who appears to be an alcoholic. And he's pretty much out of it. So they take them back to this facility that this research facility they built in the desert in Arizona. It's like a 5-level underground facility. It's the technical aspect of this film is wonderful, absolutely amazing. There's a couple of reasons for that. Michael Crichton wrote the novel that this is based on, and it followed the novel pretty closely because I read the novel a long time ago. Michael Crichton, of course, the guy who wrote Jurassic Park. Michael Crichton, who was a scientist himself, so he definitely did a lot of hard science work. One of the reasons that it looks so technically correct is they had 3 advisors from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So they didn't screw around and just talk to, a few guys who passed science in 5th grade. They talked to people who would really know about this crap. So this is full of technical jargon, and I'm certainly no expert, but from the little bit I know of it, this is dead on accurate for the time. The level of containment that they use, it takes them 16 hours to get down to the bottom, to the highest level of containment, just because it takes all this time for them to process and be decontaminated. Well, some of the criticism of this film has been that it's not that exciting, that it's too much of a procedural. Yeah, it is a procedural. Just like a lot of people like police procedurals, where they get into the really technical aspects of how cases are solved and stuff. This is a science procedural. And if you like science, this is one of the best movies ever. And, oh yeah, by the way, they are investigating a disease that kills people within hours of exposure. So not like there's not anything at risk. And, oh, guess what? It may be breaking out. So they have to figure out how to contain this disease. And there's kind of a subplot where there is a last chance, basically a fail-safe method, where if it does break out, it's automated. Their computer systems, which are really well done for 1971, their computer system will automatically start the countdown for a nuclear blast, which will destroy the facility. They have 5 minutes to turn this off if it's automated. And again, and so the doctor, the head scientist, tells the doctor, and he says he's the odd man out because they use the odd man out theory, which is an actual theory where they would establish they would use a single male, because all kinds of research proved that a single male was more likely to be willing to take higher risks than married males, married women, unmarried women, whatever, just because we have nothing to live for, I guess. So they designate him as the key holder. He is the only person who would carry the key. He would be the one to turn off the automated sequence. And he says, okay, so you really expect me to do this? And he reiterates to him, it's like, no, you don't understand. You're going to turn it off. This is automatic. If something bad happens, this thing is going off. You have to make the decision to say, no, we can contain this. You can stop this. Well, it turns out that the virus actually feeds on energy. And if they blow it up, it's going to mutate even more and spread all over the United States. So fun times.
Oh, yeah.
Happen. To me, this is an extremely tense, thrilling movie, although it is maybe a little slow paced at the beginning because, again, it's a lot of procedural work. The only, I should mention the director is Robert Wise, guy who directed The Day the Earth Stood Still, the first Star Trek movie, so he knows his science fiction. The only problem I have with the movie is one of the cast members, not the whole cast member. They definitely went for not star power, but more character actors in this, and they all do a fantastic job, except for the guy who plays the doctor, who's kind of like the co-lead. James Olsen basically did a lot of TV, did a few movies. This movie would have been absolutely top-notch if they'd had a better, more interesting, dynamic actor in the role instead of Olsen. He's not a bad actor, but he's just not very interesting.
He thought he was the James Olsen that hung out with Superman, didn't he?
Yeah, he would have been better if he'd been that. So, I mean, for instance, if this had been Paul Newman, 1971.
Oh, hello.
Out of the ballpark. And a lot of actors in the 70s could have played this role and been more interesting and not make it over the top, but they would have been a more dynamic character. Other than that, I mean, this is still an excellent film. Really, really enjoy The Andromeda Strain. They remade it as a TV miniseries, I think like in 2001, something like that. I got about halfway through the first episode and turned it off because, wow, they really screwed the pooch. So, yeah, you can remake this movie. That would be great. But until that happens, The Andromeda Strain, 1971, excellent film. Now, the companion piece, which I mentioned, is Contagion. Now, this is about a pandemic. This came out 9 years ago. And, of course, at that point, we'd already had bird flu. We'd had one round of H1N1. Of course, the big round came. Oh, actually, this is, I forgot. This is like a year and a half after H1N1 came out. So this actually is like, oh, look, I'm watching today's headlines. Isn't this great? Contagion, directed by Steven Soderbergh, who's done a ton of excellent dramas, has a fantastic cast. Matt Damon, Kate Winslet, Jude Law. There's like a dozen big people in this film. One of the absolute charms of this, Gwyneth Paltrow, one of the absolute charms of this film is just because someone's a star doesn't mean they ain't gonna die in this movie. Because a lot of the people that you would think are not gonna die in this movie, they're dead in this movie. Because after all, this is about a pandemic. It's a lot worse than the pandemic we're currently going through, because at one point in the film, they mentioned that 27 million people have died worldwide. Right now, yeah,
right here. Give us time.
Yeah, exactly. We're at about 500,000 worldwide right now. And as you said, unfortunately, hold my beer is probably what COVID-19 is saying. So again, this is a procedural. And again, just like Andromeda Strain, got some flack. I mean, most critics really liked the movie. Most critics liked Andromeda Strain. But the few who didn't said, well, it's too boring and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's because you're too intellectually weak to pay attention to what's going on. And in my humble opinion, you're just freaking stupid if you can't sit through some of the discussion of what actually takes place to track down a virus and what precautions can be done to handle the situation. They go through the whole situation of talking about the R naught, discussing how many people one person is likely to infect. They talk about methods of transmission. They talk about some fool comes up with a fake cure and makes millions of dollars off it because, of course, people pay attention to the internet back then. It has talks about the panic, talks about governmental help and governmental interference. It's just extremely, extremely well done. There's some really touching scenes when maybe a couple of characters that you were really rooting for don't fare so well. I'm not going to say who, but you'll find out when you watch the movie. It's a really, really emotionally gripping film for something that's been criticized as being overly dry and procedural. Is like, I don't know what the hell they were watching, because you really get invested in these characters. They're not cardboard cutouts, just like in the Andromeda Strain. I mean, those were richly developed characters. Same thing in this. Just a great movie, not a fun movie to watch, because, like I said, a lot of people don't deal well with the situation. A lot of people don't make it out of this situation. But it's, especially now, this is a really good film to watch. And again, it's not about our current situation. It's about our current situation, but magnified. Absolutely worth watching. Awesome performances. Very tense film. And one of the mysteries of the film is they're trying to figure out patient zero. How did this start? The index patient. And I will say, keep watching till the very end, because they reveal exactly how it started at the end of the film in a flashback, which is really well done. So 2 movies that I would absolutely recommend. Neither of them are, I would say Andromeda Strain is more fun, I guess, because it's more of a science fiction film. Contagion, unfortunately, basically could just be news footage of what's going on now, except with a lot of really good actors. So absolutely recommend. As
opposed to what we have now, which is a lot of
bad actors.
Bad actors.
Yeah, indeed. But I absolutely recommend the Andromeda Strain, Contagion. Despite the fact they're about horrifying diseases, to me they're both good escapist films, because it's still not our reality. Even though they're very well done, it's not our reality. So it also kind of gives you, to me, it gives you hope for, there are smart people out there working on this problem, just like there are in these films. So absolutely recommend both Contagion and the Andromeda Strain. You might not want to do the double feature like I did, though. You might want to space them for, a week or two, so you don't just sit there and cry.
Break it up with Aliens.
Absolutely.
But not Perry Mason, the new version. Break it up with the old version. There you go.
Oh, perfect. Which, by the way, on Amazon Prime. At least the first season.
And these are not, the typical shows you have now where it's an hour-long show, so it's 40 minutes. Because that math, that's kind of like the toilet paper math.
Yes.
You know how you see that on the side? 6 of our rolls equals 72 of their. What? 6 does not equal 72. It's that kind of a thing. These are hour-long episodes that are an hour long. So,
yes.
Good things to watch, except the new version of Perry Mason. But, we'll get over that. There will be more things coming, but they won't be coming on this show next week because it's the 4th of July, and we're taking the day off.
We are.
We're sleeping in.
We're lazy.
Because, we record on Saturdays, even though it doesn't come out till Tuesday, because it gives me time to mix out the things that we're not supposed to say, like me tripping over my tongue at the beginning of the show, which I'm leaving in, so they're
That's when Rob cuts out like 90% of what I say.
I haven't done that. That's Lee on the other show.
Well, considering some of the things Lee says on the other show, actually,
I apologize for anything Lee has said on any show. That's
considering some of the things I've said on the other show. Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm surprised I haven't been arrested.
The end of this show, just to let you know, Contagion and Andromeda Strain, they might still be out there too. COVID is still there. The outside world is still not safe to traverse without protection. So wear your mask, damn it.
Yes, please.
Or just stay home and watch a movie.
Captain, we're losing power in the warp engines.
I think we should be leaving now.
I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.
And on that unusually harmonious bombshell, it is time to end.
I am very disappointed!
Man, we have a weird job.
It's shameful, but it's a living.
And like that, he's gone.
Holy crimson skies of death!